You've seen the Federal Dropship and the Federal Gunship. However, here we have the Federal Assault Ship. You might think you've seen this ship before, and that's an opinion that's helped because it shares the same basic look as the other two ships that I mentioned. Because when the Federation approached Core Dynamics and asked them to design a handful of ships exclusively for them, they decided to initially design one ship, the Federal Dropship, and then release 3 variants that would cater to the purchaser's wallet and, arguably more importantly, their rank within the Federal Navy Reserve. Yes, I know you've got the Corvette and that looks totally different, but then that's a pint-sized rip-off of the Federal Farragut-class battlecruiser. That's not to say that Core Dynamics don't have other designs of ship. You've got the Eagle Mark II, which is a gorgeous little single-purpose fighter, and then the Vulture, which, while not pretty, does manage to look good in an aggressive sort of way. The sort of way that makes you agree to whatever it asks of you because you're scared of the alternative, despite not knowing anything aside from how it looks. But for the 3 Federal locked medium ships, they copy and pasted the dropship with a few tweaks on all of the variants. I could go into a lengthy list of reasons why Lakon gets a free pass for using a similar approach with the Chieftain line, but I'm pretty sure that's not what you're here for. When Core Dynamics prototyped the Federal Assault Ship, among other changes, they changed the wing configuration, sweeping back the lower front wings and removing the upper rear wings entirely. Then they messed with the hardpoint configuration, removing 2 medium hardpoints but adding an additional large hardpoint. And these changes passed prototyping and made it into production. They also removed some internal capacity and put the ship on a crash diet to reduce the mass. And less mass means more speed and manoeuvrability. It also means a longer jump range. They tweaked the internal colour scheme too, which is all well and good, but I had to make sure they left the most important bit, the built-in coffee machines. You'll be pleased to know that they're still there, keeping pilots awake with angry bean juice as they traverse the cosmos, looking for the next fight to get involved in. In my mind, this is the best looking ship out of the dropship line. But at the same time, if you want to get away from the basic drab colour scheme, then you don't have a whole lot of options to make it pop. But either way, the overall look is more streamlined than the other 2 ships of the line. It's still an ugly ship design, don't get me wrong, but it's ugly in a way that with enough alcohol in the system can look reasonably good, at least till the next morning, when the hangover kicks in. In terms of function, it's easy to say that this is a slightly more expensive imitation of the Chieftain, and I guess from some perspectives, it is. The internal layout is shockingly close in terms of what you get, and the price difference is negligible. But it's also something else, I think. This is the Vulture for people that want a slightly bigger fist that can punch with a little bit more power. The Federal Assault Ship is to the Vulture what the Anaconda is to the Python, or what the Python is to the Cobra. Except instead of focusing on trying to do everything, it focuses on one thing and one thing alone: combat. Yes, the improved manoeuvrability and jump range over the dropship and gunship does make the ship a little bit more viable as a miner, explorer or trader. But those are side quests. The main quest of this ship is to get in, run rings around your opponent and then force the opposing pilot into an escape pod. Like the Vulture, you have 2 huge hardpoints, but unlike the Vulture, these are bolstered with 2 medium hardpoints to ensure you get a little bit of extra fire on target. Like the Vulture, its manoeuvrability is superb for the size of the ship, but it's still not the fastest ship in its class. It also needs tweaks to the distributor and power plant to get the best out of it, plus it's not traditionally the prettiest ship in the galaxy. In my opinion, they could have legitimately called this the Vulture Mark II, and I don't think anyone would have raised an eyebrow over it. But then if someone did and a Federal Assault Ship pilot took offence, it's not like they'd be around for much longer anyway. It's not all the same as the Vulture though. The shield effectiveness of the assault ship is lacking, and with a medium hit profile you'd think this would matter, but it really doesn't. Because like its dropship and gunship siblings, the armour rating of this ship is superb. More than good enough for finishing a fight with a small love tap just to remind the enemy that whilst they were on the wrong side, you loved them really. Or for weakening their shields before you open fire on them, so initially they think you're just a rubbish pilot that can't control their ship, rather than crippling them just before you attack and liberate their cargo. The convergence of weapons isn't bad either, which with the assault ship's manoeuvrability does lend itself quite well to fixed weapons. I've been getting on reasonably well with a full load of plasma accelerators, and aside from the odd small ship being a bit tricky to land a hit on, I've certainly had no real issues. There is one thing I don't like about this ship for combat. Like the dropship and the gunship, the canopy, while providing decent visibility, is somewhat exposed and makes a decent target for your opposition. It's just another thing the ship shares with the Vulture. Going back to liberating cargo, this is a halfway decent contender for piracy too, looting precious goods from those without defences. The capacity isn't the greatest, but it's got the right offensive capabilities and internals that will help you make sure you steal cargo with little to no hassle. With a manifest scanner, you can pick and choose your prey for the most profit, so you can fill your void with opals rather than water, for example. But what about everything else that's not combat related? If being offensive isn't your raison d'etre, and you're after trading and mining, well, you'd be a little bit better spending a bit more on buying an Imperial Clipper, although that does mean being a filthy traitor to the Federation in order to gain the required rank to buy the Clipper. As for exploration, the Federal Assault Ship is a unusual choice, and whilst it's better than the dropship and the gunship, it's still not ideal. But if you are attached to this particular designer ship, then it's by far the best option out of the row. Wrapping up, I like this ship. In fact, I like it just as much as the gunship, if not slightly more. Whilst it lacks the sheer number of hardpoints that the gunship has and doesn't have a fighter bay, to me it feels more balanced than the gunship. Those similarities to the Vulture and the Chieftain have really paid off to create a ship that can both outmaneuver its opponent and remove them from the mortal plane. Having come away from the gunship and the assault ship thoroughly enjoying them both, I did jump into my dropship while writing this. I wondered if I had the dropship all wrong, that maybe it was an excellent ship that I just needed a little bit more time to get along with. Nope. Still don't like the dropship, and if anything, flying the assault ship and the gunship have just emphasised the flaws with the dropship and reinforced my dislike of it. It's cheaper, but it's cheaper for a reason and still feels too expensive for what you get. It's better to spend the extra 5 million, do the time to rank up high enough with the Federation and go straight to the assault ship, the spiritual Vulture Mark II, which has more character than the Vulture as well. As always, I hope you enjoyed this one. Various links and all of that guff are in the description. Let me know what you think about the ship in the comments, and as always, I'll catch you when the next video is released. Much love, take care, and 07. Thank you.